Good evening and welcome to your English news package with Radio and Television Tonga for the hour. Making headlines, mother dies from a fire incident at a residence in Vava'o this morning. 8 ballot papers declared void due to complications during last week's by-election, and the Pacific leaders' request for compensation from richer countries at the COP27. Now for the stories in details. A mother has died in Vava'o from a house fire. The incident happened at about 5 a.m. this morning at Maungamaka Neyafu, Vava'o. The Deputy Fire Commissioner, Sinamoni Kawaka, says the deceased and her husband were still asleep when they woke up to discover their two-story building on fire. The couple are the only ones living in the house, which is 20 meters long and 10 meters wide. The incident began from the first floor of the house, and the couple tried their best to get out of the fire, but unfortunately only the husband was able to make it out alive. The fire and emergency services are still investigating the origin of the fire and urges people to use their electronic devices wisely to prevent such tragedies in the future. The Fire and Emergency Services has recorded 33 fire incidents this year compared to 63 altogether last year. The estimated cost of the damage is more than 100,000 per anga. The Acting Supervisor of Elections has confirmed with Radio Tonga News this morning that 8 ballot election papers were declared void from last week's by-election due to complications on the ballot paper. Henele Telefoni says there were 3 ballot papers from Tongatapu 4, 2 from Tongatapu 6 and 3 from Tongatapu 7 that the voters did not clearly indicate their preferred candidate on the space provided. As such, they had to announce it void. Telefoni says the ballot paper clearly stated the instructions for the vote, such as requesting the voter to kindly tick the boxes of their preferred candidates. However, it was unclear, leading to the decision to declare those ballot papers void. Meanwhile, some of the candidates are still allowed to apply for a recount of their votes upon application to the Supervisor of Election. The by-election last week was to replace the convicted MPs from Tongatapu 4, Tongatapu 6 and Tongatapu 7. From Tongatapu 4, Mateni Tapueluelu returns to Parliament, wife of the former Tongatapu 6 MP Tulsi Daywan, and from Tongatapu 7, Piveni Piukala, the younger brother of the Health Minister, won the by-election. The latest updates from the COP27, Pacific leaders will be pressing developed nations for payment at the United Nations Climate Conference known as COP27 this week in Egypt. Last year's climate talks in Glasgow ended in acrimony between rich and developing countries over cash for loss and damage as an agreement was pushed back by the United States and Europe.
Last year's climate talks in Glasgow ended in acrimony between rich and developing countries over cash for loss and damage as an agreement was pushed back by the United States and Europe. Developing countries say compensation ought to be arranged for the emissions caused by richer nations over hundreds of years and its consequence on developing states' economies. However, the US and Europe pushed back from opening this discussion at COP27, fearing that paying for historical emissions could put their countries on the hook for billions of dollars for decades or even centuries to come. Meanwhile, a Tongan climate activist who was recently awarded an SDG Vanguard Award from the UN Foundation has highlighted the significance of climate change at international arenas. Last week, Miyagami gave a speech at the award ceremony, emphasizing the need for cooperation in the fight against climate change. Kami says the Pacific is currently facing the brunt of climate change and climate ocean, despite it contributing the risk to the problems. Not only that, the Pacific is not fighting for their survival, but they are fighting for their future. Kami also says that Tonga is connected to our land and oceans, and if we lose this, we lose the essential part of our way of life, which is our culture, identity, and traditions. Kami was honored to receive this award, not just as a Tongan, but as a Pacific Islands. Miyagami, who is a local artist and climate justice activist who is a current teacher at Dupo College Toloa, The SDG Vanguard Award recognizes leaders whose work and impact reflects the urgency of the SDG agenda and the imperative to leave no one behind. The UN Heroes Award honors the extraordinary passion, courage, and determination of UN frontline workers. The theme for this year's award on the 3rd of November is We the Peoples 2022. Reporting for Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Ali Situpo.
The Public Service Commission announced the Christmas vacation period for 2022-2023 and will commence officially at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, December the 22nd. However, the last day of work for 2022 is Wednesday, the 21st of December, and the public service will resume duty for the new year 2022 at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, the 4th of January 2023. During the Christmas vacation, the government's essential services will continue to operate, such as the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Police and Customs Division, and other respective ministries. And providing first aid kits in case of emergencies is vital to staff of Tanoa Hotel. A one-day training workshop was conducted by the Tonga Red Cross Society for staff of the Tanoa Hotel to provide first aid kit to their guests and customers. Speaking to Radio Tonga News this morning, the Human Resources Manager of Tanoa Hotel, Tupo Ahome'efaupula, says they are back in operation after being on lockdown from COVID-19, and it is vital their staff learn firsthand how to perform first aid kits for their guests. It is understood that hundreds of guests accommodate the Tanoa Hotel every day, so it is essential that their staff know how to perform first aid in case of emergencies. Meanwhile, Tiulipe Peliketi from the Tonga Red Cross Society says they are delighted to have hosted the training upon request from the Tanoa Hotel. She adds the society hopes to provide similar training for everyone in Tonga, as it will be useful in times of emergencies. More than 10 staff of the Tanoa Hotel participated in this morning's workshop training. Now, before we part, is a final look at tonight's top stories. Mother dies from a fire incident at a residence in Vava'o this morning. 8 ballot papers declared void due to complications during last week's by-election, and Pacific leaders request for compensation from richer countries at the COP27. That's it for tonight. Thank you for your company. I'm Malia Gutenberg. Have a blessed evening.